Hey, welcome to another episode of Inquiring Minds. I'm Steve Harper, and with me, as always, is Donna Carlin. Donna, how are you doing today?
I'm great. I'm really looking forward to our conversation today, as usual. And I know people are getting tired of me saying that, but it's the truth.
That's okay. I love hearing it every time you say it, so it makes me feel good. So
Yeah,
keep saying
there
it.
you go.
What are we talking about today?
So I was wondering, people go after their dreams sometimes.
Hmm.
However, often they go after the dream that they think someone else has for them, someone in their family, what they were raised to do, raised to be, all of that. So, my question that's out on the table is, are you going after your dream or someone else's? And
Oh,
I think that's an important conversation to have.
it is. I believe that. I think that a lot of us fall victim to that expectations of other people, especially when we're growing up. I remember one of the things I really had, I was drawn to do as I was entering college was I really wanted to become a teacher. And I remember at the time I had a sort of a special, I don't know, a special desire to become a kindergarten teacher. One of my older sister's friends was a kindergarten teacher and had been for a number of years, and I just liked what he said about it as a career path. What he got out of it, he said it was the perfect age because the kids, still were at a point where they could actually, they look at you as a rock star, right? They've got wide eyed enthusiasm every single day, and you get the young kids, sometimes they act out a little bit because they haven't quite yet matured, but he loved it because you could mold them into the kind of student that you'd hope that they would become, right? And kindergarten or first grade in that area was really kind of his passion. And he just said, you're catching kids at the coolest age that there is. And I loved it. And I remember one night after dinner talking to my folks about this is the direction I think I want to go. Even though at the time I had kind of been studying entrepreneurship, I had been involved in all the business classes in high school. I was going to school on a business scholarship, but this education really felt like a real big draw for me. And
Mm.
I just got eviscerated literally by my dad about how that's the dumbest, idea. And my dad's a good guy. Don't hold this against him, but I think it's a generational thing. He's like, A, men aren't kindergarten teachers, and B, you'll never make any money. You'll never do anything that will never be a good, sustainable, long term career. And I remember just arguing the point, but really at the end of the day, him sort of being so insistent that I have to go a different direction. And it's sort of always stuck with me, right? I think it's part of why I became a soccer coach, coaching young kids, to start and then taking them all the way up through when they graduated high school. Um, but that was my way of trying to scratch that itch. But if I had everything to do over again, I think I'd probably go back to school and become a teacher.
I think you need to sit down with your dad and watch Kindergarten Cop.
I have showed him that he was unmoved.
Okay, so even Schwarzenegger didn't do it for
Yeah,
him.
yeah, no, no, no. Yeah, he's an engineer, so everything is pretty much black and white when it comes to his thinking. But you do oftentimes find yourself living out a path that is often carved by someone else. Could be a parent, could be a teacher, could be a career counselor or advisor. And it's unfortunate because a lot of times we end up doing it out of a sense of obligation. We've had an episode about that, right? Talking about that process. And we not rather, that we really are truly called to do what it is that we're doing, but sometimes we're trying to live up to the expectations of other people. And it's a real dangerous path to go down.
Because you're not living that other individual's life.
Yeah,
You're going to be spending a huge percentage of your life in the workplace. And if you do something that you absolutely adore, that you love, that pumps you up every single day, it's not work, it's play.
that's right.
Like I keep coming back to a conversation I had with one of my colleagues around the Keys to Mastery that we're working on. And the conversation he had with one of like a BB King, who's an incredible musician,
Yeah.
talking about practice, 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 right? And he said, I never practice. And he said to him, You play like 250 days out of the year. You don't call that practice? Oh, well, I never looked at it from that
Yeah.
perspective because it's his dream, it's his passion, it's what he absolutely loved to do. And the reverse was true for him because he never finished his education. So
Wow.
he bought a laptop that went with him everywhere, and he constantly looked up things to learn and to take online courses, which was really quite extraordinary, because he wanted to keep his education going, even though he never finished high school. So you look at what is your dream and how are you honoring it. And if you take on what somebody else's view of a dream is for you, that's not a dream.
Yeah.
You're being
Yeah.
pushed in a direction that is just not your dream. And it's not honoring that which comes naturally to you in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I
So
mean
what do you
that's a
do?
good point. I was going to ask that. So what do you do when you talk to a client or someone that you've got the opportunity to coach that you know is sort of going through the motions, living out what they feel like is really somebody else's dream or somebody else's guidance or direction? How do you get them to course correct or at least evaluate where they are and whether there's the possibility of taking a step back and maybe doing something slightly different?
Well, I can tell you what I experienced, way back when I was in university, and I was in the music program, as you know,
Mm-hmm.
because music performance. And what I didn't know, after a year, like it was a qualifying year that you had to take to make sure you could cut it, and then you had a second edition to make sure you could stay there. However, through the subsequent years, you had an edition every single year. If you didn't pass that audition in order to make, the cut for the program, they would eliminate you. And this could be the last year of your university
Oh,
degree. It was brutal.
yeah.
And I remember saying to my teacher, like, "What the hell? This is doesn't give you a feeling of stability when you're paying a lot of money. You're putting in your blood, sweat, and tears into learning your instrument." He said, "If you can't cut it here, you're never going to cut it out in the world because it is
Wow.
probably one of the most competitive fields, especially in percussion. There's so few percussionists, compared to violinists, for example, in an orchestra. So that I found fascinating because their viewpoint was, this is the time to weed you out. So you better have a plan B. And that
Mm,
plan B is going to help you make a living. So I remember when I said to my parents I wanted to go into music performance in university, my mother, who's science minded and math minded, and my father, who's sales minded, they both looked at me like I was from another planet. And I said to them, I will, however, because the way the program was also crafted, we needed to take arts or science courses up to the 300 level. So not only did we have the 60 hours of everything music related, we had to add 3 courses, full courses,
wow.
for either science or arts classes, um, in order to have that minor. And I said, I will have a plan B. And I did. In those days pre computers, I went for a bookkeeping class so I could do the books, I could do some accounting and get jobs because there was
Mm-hmm.
always a need for that while I was constantly looking for music gigs. And that served me well. It paid the bills. So they were fine with that because I was logical about it. In this day and age now, if I was, in the same boat, I would say I'm going for it. If I can't cut it, then I will look at what's next for me, but I'm going to put my, like, dive in full force. So how do you course correct? I think it's about what are you willing to give up in order to achieve that dream. Now in music it's very different than some other fields.
Sure. Sure.
um that you're chosen. Sometimes those who don't cut it in university still are so good they make a name for themselves in the music world. But doctors, lawyers, professionals, whatever, they just can't leave school and continue on that path. So you look at what does course correcting look like. And again, for me, I had to give up my music career. I was in an orchestra, and when my son was born, I had to give it up. So how do you course correct then? I had to go back
Hmm.
to school and be retrained. However, it was in something that I knew would have a huge impact, even if it was just on my son.
Yeah.
So it had meaning for me, and that became my dream to do something of impact. So I'm asking, not only is it your dream, do you have the competency, proficiency, and talent
Yeah.
underscore, to stand out and be unique to you, your contribution to your field? If that's the case, and that's your dream, how do you remove any roadblocks? And what will facilitate that in happening so that you just fly?
Yeah. Well, like with most of our conversations, we put these ideas out there to get people to actually look inward and to ask the hard questions. And really that question is a hard one because when you start to evaluate everything you've done or accumulated over all these years and you try and carry that against the barometer of what was I doing it for someone else or was I doing it for myself? A lot of us, I think, need that question as an opportunity to really do a true assessment and evaluation of where our lives are. And I recently had a conversation with a friend of mine that was asking about what I'm doing with one of my software companies. And I said, I have a timetable and I'm going to commit to that timetable because at the end of the day, I know what I want to do beyond this. And I would have been not as equipped to reach that conclusion even 10 years ago because I would have been
Mhm.
looking at, well, I need the paycheck. I need the steady, income and I need to be and do the responsible thing, which for all intents and purposes was driven by making sure I was providing for my family, doing the things that I needed to do to take care of our obligations and the ability for me to take risks was probably not something on the forefront that I was giving proper credit to. However, now I have more flexibility and I've also noticed how I've done and taken some risks that I may not have considered risks at the time, but how those have played out. And now I kind of live my life on my own terms. I'm doing the work that I want to do right now, and I'm passionate about it. And I don't feel like it's a job. Like you said, I get to come in and I get to play. In my case, I have three companies. I get to wear three different hats on a given day. It feels like a three-ring circus often, but, and I'm not the ringmaster. It seems like somebody else is the ringmaster a lot of times, but you know what? I don't mind jumping on the trampoline or getting on the trapeze or riding the elephant from day to day. But I know that my tolerance and really what feels right in my heart and my mind, it's not there long term for me to continue at this pace and to do these things. And so being able to figure out what is my dream like 3 years from now or 5 years from now, and opening up this conversation and this dialogue with myself to say, okay, what is the possibility then? What would I like to be doing? What would I like to be, spending and concentrating my time around at that point? And being able to sort of remake your career path at any point allows you the opportunity to stop, evaluate where you are and where you want to be, and kind of go back to that dream state of what are my dreams at 55, at 60, and 70, etc. And what I do is I get empowered by that. So it makes me want to commit my work now to finish up what I need to do here and over the next year, a couple of years, so that I can deliver on that because I know that's what's going to bring me true happiness.
That's it. And, I'm at the stage of my present career, which is going on 40 years this fall.
So
Um,
you're still a rookie.
I'm still a rookie. I'm looking at the balance between my clients and the client companies that I work with and my pro bono work.
Hmm.
And the pro bono work is the work that, and how much time I devote for each. Obviously, now it's probably about 80/20,
Yeah.
client time, pro bono work. The pro bono work will increase as I get closer to retirement. I know that because that is the work that has such incredible meaning to the world. because I work with fellows that are doing incredible work. And if I could facilitate them doing it better, faster, deeper, whatever, I know I'm going to want to be able to do that. So that's my dream that I'm working towards. What will that transition look like? And there's certain clients that I'm sure I'll keep on like indefinitely, probably
Sure.
adopted them at this point in time, or vice versa. I'm not
Yeah.
quite sure. Um, but it's kind of cool that I can even now pick and choose my clients. Even one of my clients told one of his directors, who he suggested might benefit from working with me, Donna might not necessarily take you on because she only works with clients she wants to work with. And she looked at him and said, "What, are you kidding me?" He said, "Oh, no. She'll interview you. And if you're not a client that she feels she wants to work with, she'll recommend somebody else, but she won't work with you."
Yeah.
And of course, that makes them want to work with me because they want to step up and be that kind of client. But that's not what I judge, who I take on. I want to take on somebody who's going to dive in with both feet and really engage in the
Sure.
process. And
Sure.
so again, that becomes part of your dream, right? You start off with the what are you going to be working in, and how will I grow in that field, and
Yeah.
all these internal questions to see how could I realize my dream, and what do I need to know, who do I need to know to get there. But that transitions over time. Your dream intensifies and becomes more focused and laser as you keep redefining and tweaking and everything else until it's exactly what it is that you want, but only if you give yourself the chance to do that.
Yep.
Doesn't
Yeah.
happen overnight.
No, it doesn't. And it's an excellent reminder for everybody out there that might hear this on the podcast platforms or see this video on YouTube or Facebook is, give yourself that time and space to allow yourself to dream. Make sure that you're, like you said, laser focused in on what that actually means to you, and ensure that you're, you have to take, within reason, you have to take into account your family and how it will affect, certain things within your personal and your professional life, right? You just can't, leave your employees high and dry because you're going to go chase something else. But maybe you can, right? And maybe that's the opportunity for you to step up and say, okay, who's my successor? What's my succession plan? How am I going to get there? What am I going to do with this? How do I feel good about walking away and being able to continue to provide value for those that have been here for me and that I've depended on for my success at this stage of my life? So I think it's a really good opportunity. These conversations, every single time we have one of them, really, really sparks something. I can't tell you how many pages I've written in my journal through just follow-ups to these particular conversations. So this is yet another example of one of those great topics. It's not an easy one. And sometimes when you pull the curtain back, it may be a bit painful to look and realize that you may be going down a path that really isn't of your own choosing. So what are you going to do about it, right? But at the end of the day, Donna, how could people tell us whether they're on their, true chosen path and they're living out their dream, or commit to us that they will start to go that direction? How do they acknowledge that? Let us know and become part of this conversation.
Join our Facebook group, Inquiring Minds with Donna Carlin and Steve Harper. I think that it would be a great platform to start some of these offline conversations, and we will answer. So write and let us know what you're thinking, what you want us to discuss. If you want us to go deeper in a conversation, happy to do that. Or write us through our websites. Steve's at ripplecentral.com. I'm at donnacarlin.com, Carlin with a K. And I always say that because people hear Carlin and they think George Carlin, and that's a C. It's not. And you write us, and you can have access to our social media links so you could see what we're posting, what we're thinking. And if you want any of our posts on social media to become one of these conversations, let us know that too. We'd love to hear.
Absolutely. Yes, we greatly appreciate it. Definitely become involved. Let us know what you're thinking on these and other episodes that we've done. There's plenty of them. We just talked about. We just hit our, I think this is our 61st episode, or somewhere in that neighborhood. So this is a privilege and an honor that we both have and we take very seriously, and we want you to be involved. So be a part of that conversation. But Donna, Thank you again for another amazing conversation. And we'll be back again very soon with another episode of Inquiring Minds.
You have a great day.